decrease turnout on Election Day. Tamara Holder is a defense attorney and a Fox News contributor, and she joins me live with, although we can't get the Department of Justice, its take on this. You're sort of a Department of Justice defender when it comes to these allegations. And I want to say again, we have reached out to them repeatedly to put somebody on this program. I mean, this is not some, wingnut. This guy worked at the DOJ for 5.5 years. These are real allegations. Whether they're true is for you to decide, but they need to respond, and they haven't, other than in paper form. Nonetheless, we're doing our best. We found you. You're taking their side on it. Respond to his latest allegations, Tamara, that now within the DOJ they're being told, don't pursue the cases. Don't pursue the law that requires ineligible voters to be taken off the voter registration rolls, because to do so would decrease turnout. That's a political consideration.
Right. Well, I don't want to call him a wingnut, but it's very interesting that instead of his new website saying something like, I'm here to seek civil rights or justice for all or something like that, his website says, more red than the ivory tower. So we need to make sure that when we are talking about law, we separate the law from politics.
Pajamas Media, you're talking about them?
Correct.
I mean, I don't think he's like a founder of that. I think
he's a contributor. Yeah. He left the Department of Justice, and he is a contributor. So he, and when he's on this program, he has that label right under his name. So when you're a lawyer, you must make sure that you separate whether it's a case on criminal defense, personal injury, voters' rights. You separate the law from politics, and you make sure that the facts of the case have merit. And if they don't, you can't bring a case.
He's saying, and he's naming names now. He wouldn't last week, but now he is saying this all comes down to Deputy Attorney General Assistant Julie Fernandez, who issued 2 mandates, according to him. One, to drop that in connection after the new Black Panther case was dropped. He says that she issued a mandate saying the voting section will not bring any other cases against blacks or other minorities. And now 2, today's bombshell, where she said the motor voter law, that section requiring purging the ineligible voters, not to be enforced because it won't increase turnout. What business is it of Mrs. Fernandez's whether turnout is big or small on Election Day?
Well, I think that it's very interesting that he keeps releasing little bits of information every week. It's not like he was all of a sudden given approval, at the end of last week so he could talk this week about something new. So
he was under oath yesterday. He didn't want to talk about this last week. He didn't want to name names. Yesterday he was under oath. I unfortunately can't swear the guy in.
Right. Well, he's also saying there were like 36 other people in the room. He's definitely throwing things out there. But, it's very interesting that this man was hired by Bradley Schlossman, who was with the Department of Justice under Bush, who was sanctioned. He was sanctioned for hiring people based on their political affiliation. Okay. So
But let me just translate that, because what that seems to be saying is he's a conservative. He's perhaps a Republican. He claims he's supported candidates on both sides of the aisle. But let's assume that's true, that he is a conservative who's working at the DOJ. Can we rule out his allegations on that basis?
Well, I think we just need to call a spade a spade. He is saying that this is a political issue by the Obama administration. Let's talk about the political issues under the Bush administration that he was a part of. That's what's the interesting thing that he needs to talk about. We need full disclosure here. And instead of him saying there's plenty of evidence of ineligible felons being allowed to vote, where? When? What are the facts? Give us the facts. You could not just make blanket statements and then that's okay for us.
But he's saying let's assume that this did happen, because I raised that with him, that there were allegations under Gonzalez that they were enforcing other portions of the law and not portions that maybe help Democrats. And the response seems to be, well, even if they were, he said they weren't, but even if they were, does that make it right now? If this Fernandez, if this Julie Fernandez issued a mandate that none of the voter intimidation laws are going to be enforced if the victim's white, can that be defended?
No, it can't, but I think that that's what needs to be talked about, is opening investigations. But to just make blanket statements on Fox News, the #1 news channel where everybody's watching, to say things like that.
He also did it under oath.
Well, he did it under oath, but remember, the Department of Justice is not entitled to come on TV and talk about these things because
But they have been subpoenaed, and they've ignored the subpoenas. They refuse to make the lawyers available. They sent Tom Perez, to their credit, but they won't send the actual trial attorneys. He got subpoenaed and he couldn't go, and neither could the other trial lawyers.
But we don't know how long the Department of Justice has been on notice of certain things. Maybe what he's saying about Ms. Fernandez is true. I'm not defending the Department of Justice in that right. But I'm saying that maybe they need time to investigate. Remember, this immigration lawsuit took them some time. Whether it's too long or too short, I'm not one to say. But a proper investigation is what is required here. And for this man to have quit just, a month or so ago or a few weeks ago and all of a sudden come on Fox News and start throwing all these people under the bus.
He came on Fox News because we called him, because he wrote a piece in the Washington Times which was really incendiary and made some incendiary charges.
I understand, but I think that timing is important in all fairness to all parties.
And I just want to say two things. Number one is that he quit after he went in, he says to Tom Perez and said, you better testify truthfully before that commission. Don't say there were no facts and no evidence, because there were. And then Perez testified, and he resigned that day. But number two, in the department's defense, I also want to point out that they say they won't make their trial attorneys available because no administration does. The Republican, Democratic, it's not good for our Justice Department to have trial lawyers subpoenaed by the commission, because there's privileged issues and so on. All right, I got to leave it at that, Tamara. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And again, Department of Justice, come on anytime. 20 minutes away, Shepard Smith. Hey, Shep.
Well.